Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are. My name is Bouwe van the Eems from the Pestalozzi Trust. The purpose of this video is to give a quick overview of BELA Bill, what it is, what it means for home education, and what you can do. So I'm going to share my screen quickly. So here is the presentation. So the name of the presentation is The Slow Birth of BELA Bill. Firstly, I want to discuss the word bill. Bill means a draft law. It's not law yet. It's in the process of becoming law. So you don't need to worry about this, that it's going to affect your life. It's still going to take a while before it becomes law. Secondly, BELA. BELA stands for Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. So it makes amendments to laws pertaining to basic education, which is the SA Schools Act and also the Educators Act. Now, the Educators Act doesn't affect home education, but the amendments to SA School Act does affect home education. So I will give an overview of how it will affect it and what we can do. So here's the agenda of the presentation: the driving forces from government and from parents, the impact that BELA Bill will have on home education, the process that it follows, and what you can do. Firstly, we look at what are the driving forces of the state. Now, there are a number of places where you can look for this. Firstly, you can look at the preamble of the bill, which says why they are making this bill. Unfortunately, the preamble only says to further regulate home education, which is actually meaningless. Another source is the socio-economic impact assessment. And all that assessment says it is there to resolve the problem of uncertainty, as if people are uncertain about certain things. So the official documentation is very vague about what the purpose of BELA Bill is. So we've done some investigations of other documents from the government that can give us some indication of what is the driving force behind BELA Bill. And here are some things. Firstly, the ANC strategy and tactics document clearly describes that government sees education as a means to transfer their ideas and their values to the next generation, with a political purpose to stay in power, so that the next generation will vote for the current government. This is in the ANC strategy and tactics document 2001, but also in subsequent one. It's not only in that one. Here's another comment of the Minister of Basic Education, that the purpose is to provide for home education as part of the formal schooling system. So they want to make home education part of the school system, so that they control it through the school system. Here's a statement from the Minister of Education. It is my duty to help educate the people of South Africa on how to vote for the ANC. It confirms the strategy and tactic document. Here is a comment from the Umalusi report that says the only option currently for parents who do not want their children to be taught the national curriculum is to leave the country. The government sees education as one system, one curriculum, with a purpose to support government. Here is an extract from minutes of the Council of Education Ministers, where they were contemplating scrapping home education. Here is another comment from a document from government, where they recommend that home education must be made difficult. So those give you some indications of what the driving forces are from government. But what are your driving forces? You want to take full responsibility to choose the kind of education for that's the best for your children. And you will take full responsibility for that. But if you want to take full responsibility, you also want you will also want to have the freedom to choose what education you want to give your children. So, in a nutshell, what will the impact of BELA Bill be on home education? In short, it will transform home education into unaffordable state education at home. And it does it by prescribing the curriculum and requiring regular assessments at the parent's cost. So by introducing this thing, home education merely becomes a means to transfer the value of government to the next generation. And you have to pay for it, and you have to do all the work. And this will be done over a period of time. That is why one of the sections in BELA Bill says we must give the minister unlimited powers to make regulations. So initially, maybe BELA Bill will not have much effect, but as the minister issues the one after the other regulation and tightens the screws, home education will eventually be impossible for all practical purposes. Okay, so as you can see, BELA Bill is not bella, which is the Italian for beautiful. It is a law with serious consequences. Now we're going through the process that BELA Bill has followed. This is just a quick overview of on a high level of the legislative process that includes BELA Bill that has been followed. So when we look at the legislative environment, we find laws, regulations, and policies. A law is made by Parliament, and it is binding, and it defines offences. What is an offence and what is not an offence, and what are the penalties associated with those offences. Then in order to provide more detail on how the law will be implemented, the minister can make regulations. And in order to provide guidelines on how officials must implement laws and regulation, there is policy. Unfortunately, the DBE followed a different process. They first made the policy. Now they're busy with the law, and later on, they're going to make regulations. This creates a problem for us. Firstly, officials are already implementing BELA Bill before BELA Bill even exists. Secondly, the public is now supposed to comment on a law that gives the minister power to make regulations without us having any ideas of what those regulations can be. So this, putting the cart before the horse process followed by the Department of Education, is causing us many problems. Okay, now we zoom in on BELA Bill. BELA Bill has gone through a process. We divide those processes into pre-Parliament, Parliament, and post-Parliament. So it's already gone through its pre-Parliament process, and it's now at Parliament. And you see, I made a note here, section 76. BELA Bill is a bill that affects provinces and national government. So it has to go through the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. That is just important to take note when you look at the parliamentary process. So the bill has been tabled at Parliament, and we are in this process now. So let's quickly go through these three processes. Firstly, pre-Parliament. That process started in 2013 when a task team was appointed to start drafting BELA Bill. In 2017, BELA Bill was published for public comment. The Department of Basic Education was overwhelmed by 5,000 letters from the public, of which 1,000 were from homeschoolers. That was an unprecedented number of letters on a education bill. And then they started looking at all those letters, made small amendments. In 2018 and 2019, they had consultation with various stakeholders, such as the unions, SGBs, and even the Pestalozzi Trust was invited to a meeting with the minister in early 2020. After that, it went through NETLAC. NETLAC is the organization that represents business and unions. Then it goes to a body called OXLA, that's the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. So when BELA Bill was in that process, the Pestalozzi Trust submitted a legal opinion on the provision for pre-registration home visits, because OXLA should advise the minister on whether BELA Bill is consistent with the Constitution, and the home visit requirement is not consistent with the Constitution. Then it went through a SIAS process, that is socio-economic impact assessment study. For that, the Pestalozzi Trust provided some of our own research to give them at least something to work with, because they were trying to do a SIAS without any research. But unfortunately, they didn't really take any cognizance of the research, but we've given to the anyway. In 2021, the BELA Bill had to be tabled at the Council of Education's Ministers, KEM, and in that process, in that period, the Pestalozzi Trust organized many campaigns and helped the associations write letters to the provincial MECs on education. And that was a fair success. It was successful in the Western Cape, where the MEC actually invited the home educators to talk to them, and there were quite a number of discussions. Then it went to a meeting, what called the social cluster, that is the meeting of the Minister of Education, Social Services, and Health. And then in December, it was tabled at Cabinet for final approval. When we heard that it was going to be tabled at Cabinet, the Pestalozzi Trust again wrote a letter, actually 2 letters to the President, urging him not to submit the bill to Parliament because there are significant flaws in the law. Unfortunately, the President didn't concede to our request, and it was submitted to Parliament middle of December. So that is the pre-parliamentary process. Now let's go to the parliamentary process, where we currently are. So, as I said before, it first goes to the National Assembly, and then it goes to the National Council of Provinces. So currently, BELA Bill is in the National Assembly, and this is the National Assembly process. It is tabled at the National Assembly. Then firstly, it goes to the public participation process, where inputs from the public are requested, and that is where we are now. The public is requested to make written submissions. Then it will be discussed by the relevant committee, in this case, the Portfolio Committee of Basic Education. Then it's debated in the House, and then it's passed. Then it goes to the National Council of Provinces, which follows a similar process, and there will be another opportunity for public participation. So as you can see, there are many opportunities for campaigns while it's going through the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. If there's a dispute between Parliament and the National Council of Provinces, there's a dispute process that could delay the bill for another few years again. Hopefully that will happen, and we get some more time to give inputs. And once it's approved, passed by Parliament, it goes to the President, and the President has to sign it. Only after the President has signed it will it become law that can be enforced. So this again gives us an opportunity to make more campaigns and urge the president to send it back to Parliament. And sometimes a bill can sit years before the president signs it. So there could be plenty of opportunity there. But if the president signs it, now it is becoming a law that can be enforced. But even then, because the Pestalozzi Trust exists, that law can be challenged when it's implemented, and it can be set aside by the courts and sent back to Parliament. And then we go through the whole process again. So as you can see, this is a struggle that will probably never end. The struggle for freedom is a struggle that will continue forever. So what can you do? First point is, please join the Pestalozzi Trust. It's thanks to our loyal members that we are able to do what we can do, to organize campaigns, to get legal opinions, to make submissions, to do research. So please support the Pestalozzi Trust. And also, secondly, join associations. There's a list of associations in the Liberty in Learning website. They are essential to be the voice of home educators, especially in the provinces, especially related to special interests. And then support our campaigns. So on campaigns, the next steps will be this video is just an introductory video on BELA Bill. And then there will be a webinar that will take the form of a Q&A. You can ask your questions, you can raise your concerns. We will give you an overview of the campaigns that are available on the Pestalozzi Trust platform. And we'll also give you an overview of the survey that we want to launch to get your inputs on what you want changed in BELA Bill. So please join our webinar, support our campaigns, complete the survey, and you will receive notices via the email or via the social media. Please join us. I'm looking forward to meet you. Thank you very much.